All right, welcome back to another episode of Knicks Morning Coffee Recap. We're just going to jump right into last night's game. One of the best I've seen in a long time from the Knicks. They showing us this playoffs that they have a lot of grit and that they are staying together, despite some of the rumors of certain guys not showing up at the certain moments. But the Knicks showing us right now that they can't contend with anybody, and that's exactly what they're doing. All right, but first, like, comment, subscribe, and let's get to it. All right, we have to say that we knew that Boston, they got us last game, that they wasn't going to lay down. I think that was obvious to everybody. This wasn't going to be, and nor was it supposed to be, a cakewalk. All right, they still are the champs until somebody knock them off. Now, when this game started, they were hitting their shots. We were coming down, make one, miss one, but we have to do a better showing still at home. We're not going to be able to keep playing from behind, and that seems to have been our mantra, against the Celtics. But you're not going to fare too far, doing that. So when White got off, I expected Jason to start hitting some of his shots. But when White got off with the 4 for 4, that was a cause for concern. But the way Jason was shooting, I knew that wasn't going to continue. And at some point in the game, it didn't. But we were scrambling, and I didn't understand how we were getting caught in so many mismatches. Like, that communication part to me wasn't there early in the game, because all 5 guys were scrambling once the pick and roll was set. So that means somebody's not communicating, and then that starts at the top. The guy guarding the ball, and then almost like the quarterback that sits back there that can see and dictate everything. So somebody wasn't calling out something, and we were getting burned for it. But the beauty is that the Knicks did stay together. Boston jumped out to that big first lead, which wasn't doom and gloom, because we have comeback ability. And then it's really after that, we've either played them tied or we outscored them the rest of the quarters. But the game within the game, was coming down to Jalen Brunson and Jason Tatum. And neither one of them, let anybody down. They both lived up to the billing. What Pritchard was able to come in there and do, you expect that, but you don't expect that at such a prolific clip. So we need Deuce to come in and offset that. Now, the difference, though, is when Pritchard comes in, he comes in as an option that they're going to go to and use. When Deuce comes in, Deuce kind of has to wait and get his. And somehow, for us to keep advancing, we're going to have to kind of figure that part out, that we're going to need Deuce's outside shooting. He's given us his tenacious defense, but we're going to need that, and we should be able to count on that, especially if we're not putting Shamet in the game, who I think is much needed in this series. And then we giving Payne limited minutes. So it's essentially seemed like Tibbs is going really with 7 guys. Payne gets some spot minutes. Precious got a couple last night, but it's really 7 hardcore guys that he's going with. And at this point now, we have to die with that. So we just want to see a little bit more consistency and a little bit more faster pace to the rim. Now, are we wearing them down? I don't know, because we're trading 2s for 3s, but they can't keep making those 3s. And when Brunson got hot with his 3s, then that was a sign to me that, okay, we can get this game now, because we know what Brunson was doing going to the hole. They just didn't have an answer for him. I love the pick and rolls that our bigs were setting for him, and then I also like even the Karl Towns and Mitch combinations. I want to see a whole lot more of that, big to big, because they definitely can't stop that. But Brunson put us on his back again, showed us that he's not willing to let us die. He's not going to leave us on an island. He's taking to them. They just can't stop him off the pick and roll. And then even on the one-on-ones with the late screen, he's able to make the right reads. And then when he can hit that long jumper to top it off, then okay, then we're going to be hard to beat. But we still have to try to find a way to limit some of their open 3s. And even though they're getting it through ball movement, they're purposely doing that to us. They're hunting the mismatch. And as soon as we switch with the big, now we're scrambling. All right, because I think must have been some onus on trying not to let Brunson get caught down there, with the bigs by himself, because that's when I think the confusion was starting. Everybody was moving, trying to, find a man to match up with, and then they're just leaving Brunson somewhere with a bigger guy, and then they want to try to pick on him. So the effort was there, and it helps because we did get the win. But that's kind of too indecisive to be able to go up against with the Boston Celtics, because they'll just pull up and burn you. They're not going to fool around with the ball. So that's also the other part on our end. You can't argue with success, but we're still pounding the ball too much for me. Especially when they just coming down, they jocking up a three and they hitting it. Then we got to counter that. And if you're not going to actually get the 2 points and the foul, then we got to try something different through the course of the game, because even though we up 3-1, anybody else, I say put a fork in them. But we really can't say that against Boston. Yeah, we pretty much know that we could beat this series, but Detroit wasn't coming back from a 3-1 deficit, but Boston can. So we have to just keep that in mind. And until that 48-minute buzzer sounds and we got the victory, then we know we say, okay, we can wipe our eyebrows and then put a smile on our face. But we still have to fight in this series to keep our hopes and dreams alive of getting to the NBA Finals. And that's all we want to do right now is get there. Some people say early in the season, it's conference finals or bust. Well, not necessarily a bust when you're going up against the Boston Celtics. And then some people say, okay, well, if we took Boston 7, then that's a successful season. But when you have a chance to win, you got to take advantage of those chances to win, and not even to look ahead that if Indiana do come out of that Cleveland series, hopefully our scouts are already putting together a game plan for both teams just to have it in the back of their mind, so that when this season series is over, with limited time, between the following game, we have a chance to get in there and dissect some of the things they've done, because we played them in the regular season. They beat us, all of them, but they haven't seen us with Mitch. So that's going to be a big thing for us this year. But as far as back to this Boston series, we got to give real good kudos to Jalen Brunson. When Tatum went out, normally I would feel bad for a superstar. In this case, I didn't feel bad because of what Jaylen Brown did to Brunson coming down off that 3. I didn't like that. Now, Brown is not known as a dirty player. We're not putting that label on him. But when you uncontestedly went for that shot and moved that foot up, you got to know, come on now. We don't want your star out, but you shouldn't want our star out either. And that stoic look on his face, to me, just tells a whole lot that it would help y'all if Jalen Brunson is not there. So when Brown did get hurt, I ain't got no sympathy for that. I'm not looking for that, but if you want ours out, then yours end up going out, then that's just the way the ball bounces. All right, but we got to make sure that we stay intact. Jalen's ankles could come back to haunt us somewhere down this, probably not this series, but somewhere in the next one. So we got to try to put these games away if we can and give him the proper rest and treatment that he needs. Because one thing we do know, whichever one of those teams in the next round, they're going to constantly push that ball. So Jalen, he's going to be running, and then them ankles got to be ready. Plus, if you're playing Cleveland, their 2 guards love to change direction. So the worst thing to have bad ankles is guarding somebody who loves crossing over and back again. All right, so kudos to the Knicks for staying in there strong. Kudos to Mitchell Robinson. I like the way Brunson also found him on a high screen pick and roll on a fast break. That's excellent. If we could just try to figure out a way for everybody on the team to use Mitch in that situation and have him roll to the basket. Not every time, because we're a guard-driven team of getting to the hole, so you don't want to clog the middle. But I think those are points that we're leaving on the board when we don't use Mitch in a pick and roll situation. And we got to pick our spots, but we got to be able to do that, because there's no answer for most teams at all. There's no answer for that. And if you're picking on Porzingis with the pick and roll, they definitely don't have a guy that can go over the top and stop him from getting the easy 2. So it's just, chess match things that we still got to work on. I love what the Knicks is doing. I love the energy that the city is bringing. I love the fact that all of our old superstars are showing up at the Garden and cheering. Nobody's too good to be there. So to see Patrick and John Starks, to see Marbury and Clyde, Stoudemire, Sprewell, it's just on, and everybody's loving it. Even our old coach Rick Pitino was in the stands last night. So that just goes to show that Broadway is on top, and this is when the lights shine brightest, and the Knicks is showing up. So until next time, hopefully we can close them out in game 5 or 6. Peace.